So welcome to this video, which is all to do with the fear that arises when your freedom is taken away from you. Because that's what's happening right now. Many people feel like they are trapped in their homes, that they can't go where they want to, that they are prisoners. And human beings don't like this. In fact, no living creature likes to feel trapped. Wild animals, when they feel trapped, can often get very aggressive. And it's because they feel threatened and they feel that might be in some danger. As human beings, when they get told they have to stay in their houses and they start to think about all the things which are connected to this, when you start thinking about government conspiracies and you start thinking about zombie attacks and all these things that the movies have put in our brains, all these scenarios that movies have put in our brains. There's even a movie which has just been released. It's probably on Netflix. It's called Vivarium. And it's all about this couple. It's just been released like a week ago. And it's about this couple who find themselves in this house, in this kind of in this suburban jungle. And essentially they can't escape from their house. So it's like a thriller, a suspense, or some kind of a horror movie in some ways. And they find themselves trapped in this house and they can't escape. And every day is just the same. And then they have this child who starts to drive them crazy. And they slowly start to lose their mind. And, it's things like this make the human brain start thinking along certain lines, which are fearful. They're fearful lines. We start thinking about all the movies that we've watched where there's a zombie apocalypse. People are trapped in their tower block with zombies and all these conspiracy theories that we've heard over the years about people basically being imprisoned and being targeted with all sorts of unpleasant stuff. And we start to think along these lines, especially when we see what's happening in society. It doesn't look positive, especially if you've absorbed all the conspiracy theory information. And I've seen a lot of it. In fact, I've seen most of it. And I know how dark it is. I know how dark and awful the vision is that's been placed in people's minds and the government agendas. And I know how dark and awful the visions are which have been placed in people's minds through the movies and through TV and all the things which are connected to a situation like we're in now. Now, the important thing is, and the most important thing to understand, is that it's all about fear. Things like this, either we succumb to the fear and we've kind of lost the battle. If we succumb to fear, we've lost the battle and fear has won. But if we keep our sense of trust, if we trust that something greater is orchestrating all of this. There's a line in the Bible which says, that which is meant for your harm will be used to your advantage. So even though there may be some negative agendas or very dark agendas, we have to keep a sense of faith, a sense of trust. Because if we go into fear, then everything gets very dark very quickly. And a lot of people will know what I'm talking about. As soon as you go down that dark avenue in your mind of where this all leads to and the dark scenarios and the horrible things that might be planned by the government, then you go down a very, very dark rabbit hole which essentially petrifies you, terrifies you. And we don't want to go there. We have to be very, very careful that we don't go there. And we make sure that this doesn't happen by watching our mind, watching the fearful thoughts that arise and the tendency to get into certain thought patterns. But instead of these thought patterns, we have to turn our mind to God, because God is more powerful than the government. And God is real, I assure you. I know God very, very well after many years of spiritual practice, and then since coming to know Jesus, I've come even closer to God. And so God is very real, and you have to put your faith in him if you are to see what his plan is. Because you can only see God's plan when you have faith in him. It's all very well saying, I believe in God, but then not putting your trust in him and just believing all the negative conspiracy theories and believing all the dark scenarios in your mind. That's no good. To understand God's perspective, to understand what God is doing, then faith is needed. Faith is the key to seeing things from God's perspective. So when you have faith in God and you don't go into those fear mentalities and those fearful thoughts, and instead you have faith in God, then you see things from a higher perspective and you won't be afraid. You'll trust God, and you'll trust that God can orchestrate things in a miraculous way that will not involve your suffering, will not involve your misery. It's really vital that we understand this, that we trust God. We keep going back to God in our mind. We keep thinking of God instead of thinking of those dark scenarios and those dark agendas and those dark conspiracy theories and all that's connected to them. It's important we keep going back to God in our mind, remembering that God is more powerful than any other force in the universe. Way more powerful. And God can turn that which is meant for your harm to your advantage. Trust me, he can. So when you have faith in God, you won't be afraid. There'll be a sense, as crazy as it might sound, there'll be a sense of joy in your heart. Amidst all of what's going on, there'll be a sense of joy. And this is the antidote to the fear that is spreading. Because fear is, of course, spreading. The media is doing its best to spread fear. All you see on YouTube is these little videos people have made of how they're dying and how it's terrible and how you should stay indoors because it's horrific if you catch this virus. And all you're seeing is really fear-inspiring information. Now, I'm not denying there are horrible things going on and people are suffering. What I'm saying is there is a lot of fear-mongering going on. And I think everyone can recognize this in the media, in the newspapers, even in the films and programs which have been timed to be released with this whole situation, like Vivarium, as I mentioned, which is all about a couple who are trapped in their home and can't escape. They can't go anywhere else, and then they have this kid who drives them crazy. Things like this are not accidental. They are meant to stir up the fear and get us panicking. So the greatest act of defiance we can have at a time like this is to not choose fear. That is the greatest act of defiance when you are being influenced to be fearful, or when you're being controlled and you can't leave your home and you're being encouraged to worry and panic. The greatest defiance is to choose joy instead of fear. That is the greatest act of defiance. So I encourage you to defy the fear, defy the pessimism, defy all the doom mongers and the fear mongers in the media, and be joyful. This is a great and powerful act of defiance, and it's the only act of defiance you need. You can stay in your home, you can follow the rules, but defy the fear. Defy those who want you to be afraid and start panicking. Defy those who want to make you feel like you're a prisoner, that you're trapped. You're not. When you choose joy, you are free. When you choose faith, you are free. So embrace this freedom, because it is God's freedom and it cannot be taken away from you no matter what. And when you embrace God's freedom, then miracles happen. You have no idea what can happen when you embrace freedom. You embrace faith in God, and you embrace the joy that He gives you when your faith is total. So don't even let a single little fear get your attention. Don't go there, because the media wants you to feel that way. The media wants you to be afraid. But God wants you to have faith, so that you can see His plan and understand His plan and experience His joy. There really is no reason to be afraid, because God is in control of the situation. Trust God, have faith, and enjoy the blessings that are coming from the situation. I know many people are getting sick, but many people are not, and there are many blessings to see. There are many things to appreciate in this situation if you look for them. If you don't go into the fear, it's an opportunity to embrace better health, to take better care of your health, and to improve your immune system. It's an opportunity to get some rest rather than being on the treadmill 9 to 5, 6 or 7 days a week. It's an opportunity to get some rest. It's an opportunity to appreciate your family, to spend time with your children, talk to them, get to know them better, educate them better. Because now they're at home, they're not being educated, not being indoctrinated, you might even say, by the schools and the national curriculum. You've got a chance to share your wisdom, your ideas, and your knowledge with your children. Spend more time with your partner. There is so much to appreciate, but we have to shift our perspective away from the fear-mongering and all the fearful thinking which the media is encouraging, and back to this sense of seeing the positive, seeing the light, and appreciating what there is to appreciate in this situation. And there is plenty to appreciate, I assure you. Just the fact that you have a roof over your head is enough to appreciate. Just the fact that you have some food to eat today is a reason to be very grateful. Just the fact that you have company, a husband or a wife or children or some company, someone to talk to, is something to be greatly appreciated. So please appreciate any blessing you can, because there are many